study we first told you about last week showing students should be allowed to hit the snooze button a few more times every day. Researchers at the University of Minnesota looked at 8 high schools in 3 states and found students had better attendance, better moods, sometimes better grades, better test scores after they pushed back school start times. Dr. Ernest Patti is a senior attending physician of emergency medicine at St. Barnabas Hospital in Bronx, New York. He also, of course, is a father, so there's many different sides to this story, right, Doc?
Many
the
sides.
CDC was a part of this study. They sponsored this study to see really what was the impact. What do you think about the results? What does it tell us?
Well, it's exciting news. I mean, it's no secret that during puberty and during adolescence, children's brains are still developing, and sleep and getting enough of it is an important factor in the proper development of their brains.
And it seems that the sleep hormone is released much later for teenagers, which causes them to stay up later?
Well, it causes them to get drowsy at a much later hour. Usually during puberty and adolescence, the sleep hormone melatonin is released later in the day, around 11 o'clock. So that's why when you're telling your kids to go to bed at 9:30, you know, and they're like, we're not tired.
They're actually not tired.
They're not tired. There's a reason for that. Now, the problem is when we get them up really early to start school, usually most schools start, you know, before 8, at 8 or a little before 8. We're actually interrupting that proper sleep cycle for them. So I'm assuming from this study that letting them start school later is better for them.
But how much later? I mean, how much more sleep? Because we all need more sleep, right, Dr. Patti? So how much more sleep are we going to give these kids?
Well, the key is you need more sleep, but you need it on a daily basis. You know, the current trend is, I know in my family, my girls will sleep in on the weekends to sort of catch up.
Right.
But the problem is that doesn't get rid of that doesn't help as much as getting proper 8 to 9 hours and 20 minutes. 9 hours, 20 minutes, I think, is the max or the real key number that they want them to have. But anything over 8 hours a night is great. But now, how do you do that with all the activities?
For you as a father, if they're actually starting school later, do you think they're just going to stay up later and the cycle just sort of repeats itself?
Well, that's a possibility because things that emit blue lights like computers, cell phones that they play with, you know, and use for school and their studies keep them up even later as well. So that's one of the downsides. The other problem is, how do you get them to school if they're starting later?
And you have all those issues because you have extracurricular activities. If they start school later, that means the games have to be moved back, the practices run even later.
Exactly.
And then their study times are later. So just as both a health professional and a father, I mean, what do you think would be ideal?
I think they definitely need to get 8 hours of sleep a night, and I think maybe we really need to look at seriously some of the activities that when we overschedule them, many times by the time these children get to college, they're just burned out. And, you know, because they've been involved in so many things. You know, hockey, swimming, I know with my girls, they're up early in the morning. And things like, you know, hockey and sports like football, baseball, those are all late sports. It's tough. So what you really need to do is try to get a balance if you can and try to limit the computer use, the cell phone use in the evening. Proper nutrition is really important. You know, look at European countries and Asian countries. They still stop in the afternoon to take a siesta. Right? So most people try to get that extra sleep in, even if it's in the afternoon.
Interesting, though, something we could do right now, even if the school start times still are early, you can kind of take a look at the schedule, try to lighten it up a little bit.
If we can, a little bit.
If you can. Dr. Patti, great to see you as always.
Great to see you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, to you too as well. Greg, speaking of St. Patrick's Day?
That's right. And I do, by the way, have trouble in the morning. Maybe I'm a teen.